What is up, and welcome to today's edition of The Winning Ticket. We have a special guest today. Gino's off at the Breeders' Cup, and the man, the myth, the legend, one of the smartest guys I know, David, aka Better DP21, is pinch hitting. David, how you doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. Friday, looking forward to the weekend. A lot of football ahead of us. Can't wait to start talking about it.
Ton of football ahead of us. Interesting week, interesting college football week, interesting NFL week. A lot of big games. Games. We can see some of these teams that are in the mix for a playoff spot fall out. Some teams make a push. Very interesting game that we're going to get to a little bit later with Missouri and Georgia. Obviously, we got USC and Washington. We're going to talk Alabama and LSU, and we're going to talk Kansas State and Texas. That's actually we're going to kick off per DRF. Kansas State +4 at Texas, over under 49.5. Do you have any thoughts? What are you thinking with this game, my friend?
I'm actually so I got a few thoughts. I mean, one is seeing that line's moved up to 4. Very interesting to see that. Personally to me, for anybody who's new to me, just the way I look at things is very analytical. I got a lot of numbers to support it. So I actually rate these college defenses on a scale. And right now, Kansas State and Texas dead even in the same defense. Where they actually start to separate themselves is between their rushing average and time of possession on the clock. Now, anybody who's smart in terms of tracking down a team that way, that's how I like to compare their stats in terms of where they're at. And with that being said, I've got this game leaning in Kansas State's favor by a lot, actually. A lot of numbers that support Kansas State on the road here. And, looking at the rushing average of K-State, they're 226 rushing average per game right now over the last 3. And, respectively, Texas, 180 yards. So time of possession average for K-State, 32 minutes. Texas right now at 30 minutes. So what that means to me is that K-State holds the ball longer. They have a better rushing setup for themselves, and they have a very comparable defense on the road against Texas. So, they should be able to, kind of shut down Texas run game to keep it under on that time of possession clock, keep the ball in their hands, get some more points for themselves. So, I actually even have my line for K-State to be a -6 line. So I'm looking at that to be a very strong edge compared to the book right now, at +4. And again, for people that have seen any of my other content, I'd love to play the money line on this kind of game for myself. Anything under points of 6 or lower, I love playing the money line on it. You're getting really great odds, especially as a road team. I like to take the dog money where I can. So that's kind of how I'm seeing the board on this game right now.
Per DRF Sportsbook, the money line right now is +155 for the Kansas State against the Longhorns. And hearing you talk, man, breaks my heart, dude, because I'm sitting on Texas 35-1 to win it all, dude. Sitting on that 35-1.
Of course you are.
Obviously, actually 25-1. I misspoke.
Mr. Future, I'm sorry.
Obviously, in my eyes, no Ewers when Ewers hurts because I really feel you can throw on Kansas State, but I don't really know if Murphy is going to be able to do that. He definitely has the cannon, but it looks like he's just throwing fastballs. He doesn't have the touch. So I don't know if they're going to be able to throw the ball downfield against Kansas State, take advantage of where I think their hole is in their defense. Kansas State is going to look to run the ball. I think Texas is pretty good against the run. I think they're going to stop it. I think Kansas State is going to look to blitz Murray, make him into some uncomfortable decisions. It was against BYU, which is an absolute dumpster fire, and that's me putting it light. That's me putting it good, I think, because BYU is awful this year.
Yep.
And Murphy didn't look great. Was that the first game, trying to get the jitters out? I don't know. But I don't think he's nowhere near Ewers, so they're going to need to rely on this run game. And with Texas offensive line, they should be able to run, but they're miss their top 2 backs. So I really think they're going to. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball. They should be able to run the ball, but they've struggled to run the ball. I'm not really a fan of the Kansas State dual quarterback system. They obviously have Will Howard, but then they bring this freshman in. I don't even think the freshman's attempted to pass yet. He just comes in and they just run with him. Texas can kind of tee off on that. I think this game is going to be a low scoring game. So if I were going to do something, the under 49.5 is tempting, but with the college football rules where you can go to overtime and you can just run up the score, I don't want to have those bad beats. I would look to go to the first half under. That's kind of where I'd lean if I were to put a bet in over there. Next game, we're going to shift our attention over to Missouri plus 14.5 at Georgia, over under 55.5. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, so looking at this game, I mean, it's a very interesting one in my opinion, but it's, I also like to kind of stay away from public money, right? So right now, as I looked at the overall line of where public money is, 83% of the money's on Missouri right now. That number actually started at 16. It's come down. I think you just said 14, right? 14.5.
14.5.
So, the way that I look at this one, again, from my numbers, Georgia's defense is outright better than Missouri, far and away. So, they trump them by 5 times the better defense in terms of my numbers and rankings on that end of the ball. That being said, Missouri on the road, home teams in college football, I don't know what it is, but college football out of any other sport, it weighs the most to have home field advantage. You're looking at it, and I'll always take a home team where I can. And especially, again, if I go back to those numbers on a rushing average versus time of possession average, Georgia rushing average over the last few games, 172 yards a game. Missouri at 149. Their time of possession on the clock, Missouri is averaging 29 minutes of possession. Georgia's averaging 33 minutes of possession. Georgia's numbers here, just every single, step of the way of this game, they should outright kill Missouri, in my opinion. They should crush this number. I think it's actually a really good line, so, from where it's actually set, I mean, 15 is good, but, my line's got Georgia at minus 12. Does that mean that there's a little edge for Missouri? Maybe, but, at the end of the day, even from a total perspective, looking at 55, I'm averaging maybe 63 points. I'd maybe look at the over in this game. But again, defensively, I think Georgia can actually, use their defense to stop Missouri, cover this spread too. So, those are the kinds of leans that I'm seeing in this game for myself right now, just overall.
So the first thing I'm going to say is this. If you think Missouri is alive here and could actually win this game, you have to take the 300-1 that is out on DRF for them to win it all. Just 100%. Because that price is going to drop immediately. But I don't think that's going to happen. Look, sometimes as gamblers, we tend to go down and kind of create a narrative for a team to win. But we need to remember this. The way to attack Georgia is running the ball, and Missouri can't run the ball.
Yep.
Georgia is elite defending the pass, and that's what Missouri is going to like to do. And I was on the side of Missouri getting 5.5 and somehow losing and not covering to LSU a couple weeks ago. So I still have a bitter taste in my mouth. I don't want anything to do with this game. I do think this could be a higher scoring game. Maybe do the over 55.5, or you could. This is a live trading game where we could get a better total on the over during the game. But in terms of pre-flop, this is just going to be a pass for me. I don't want anything to do with this game. Next, we're going to shift our attention over to the Pac-12, and I'll give the Pac-12 credit. This last season of the Pac-12. Playing some damn good football. Playing some damn good football out west. Unfortunately, the Pac-12 is going to be no more going into next year. And the big game, we have the Washington Huskies laying 3 at USC, over under of 77.5. Lay it on me, big dog.
Yeah. So again, this is one where if you look at the opener, Washington was the dog. Heavy money's come in on them. There's 66% of the public money is, sitting on them at -3 right now. It's definitely something that, raises an eyebrow to me, mainly because, from where my line is with this game. And also just, again, if I'm looking at some of my defensive numbers, Washington has a better defense, in my opinion. But again, like I mentioned just for the last matchup, right? USC at home, I give a lot of weight to the home field teams, when it comes to this kind of matchup here. So, I actually have my line very even with the book, which means that, in my opinion, the dog line is very live from where this actually kind of stands from a +3 perspective. And also to that end, again, when I look at the rushing average, USC is averaging 155 yards a game over the last three, Washington 102. They each have an equal time of possession. In my mind, as what all that kind of translates to is the better time of possession, controlling the clock for USC at home as a dog, with a defense that can stack up, and it could be a little bit of a shootout. I mean, I think where the actual over under is at 77. I'm projecting 90. I mean, that is up there. I definitely think these teams have the offenses for it. So should I actually place my money in any of these areas, I would be looking at USC on the money line once again, at home, being the being the home dog. And I would potentially look at the over 77.5. Should I be looking in each area from a side and total perspective?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. And the thing that kind of stood out to me is when I looked at the USC defense,
Yep.
they struggle against the pass.
Yep.
They're decent against the run. Do you care to guess in the nation where Washington is running the ball?
Running the ball?
Yeah.
Let me check. Washington. Like 117.
They're bad. They're really bad. They're
Really
out
down there.
100 running the ball. And I really feel like that's where you can see USC have struggled. USC struggled last year with Oregon State, this year with Utah, with Notre Dame. They struggle with these teams that can run the ball, and that's not what Washington is about. Washington likes to pass. Also important to know, Washington is without their best defense, could be without their best defensive lineman. Uncertain if he's going to be coming back. If he's not there and can't get to Caleb Williams is going to be able to pick apart this Washington back four. I was reading this article, and this guy, I wish I could give him credit, but I'm spacing on the guy's name. And the statement he made is how Washington differs from any team in the top 10 is their depth, where they are a very top heavy roster. So when you have backups playing in the secondary against an NFL quarterback, he's going to take advantage of that. And if they don't have their best defensive lineman who can create pressure, I think Caleb Williams is going to be able to pick apart this back unit. Now, if we just look, Stanford, not really a juggernaut of an offense. Washington was outgained, and Stanford had 495 total yards. Week before against Arizona State, outgained again. Arizona State put up 341. If they had a field goal kicker, they would have won that game. And they were laying 28.5. And then there was that game against Oregon. Oregon put up 541. Oregon outgained them. If Dan Lanning didn't have a complete coaching meltdown on the sideline, they would have lost that game. They were outgained in all three. I really am going to question, is this defense going to be able to get stops? And I'm getting the healthier team. I'm getting the team with the better quarterback. I think Williams is better than Penix.
Yep.
And I get the team at home, the team healthier, the team the better quarterback, and I'm getting 3 points. You have to take USC here. I'm going to be all over USC plus the 3. I actually have. That's actually one bet I did make.
Nice. Yeah, I took USC on the money line plus 135 the other day. I really like where this is for them at home, like you mentioned, all those points. So healthier team, better QB at home. It plays a big factor in college football, whether or not people, paying attention. I want to say like home teams, and I could probably pull up something, but I want to say home teams are like 77% win percentage at home as a dog. It's pretty phenomenal.
It's insane. And I mean, that's why my favorite term, and I get criticized for it, win with margin. Like
Yeah,
it's just hard for me to rely on a college kid to go on the road and win with margin, especially in a tough place.
I always say you can't trust the kids. That's my quote.
Next game, and you know what? This may seem weird. I feel this is the littlest hyped LSU at Alabama game.
Yeah. Haven't heard a lot about it all week.
LSU getting 3 over under 61.5. Game at Tuscaloosa, 6:30 kickoff on ESPN. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm not betting this one. I might look for it live though. I do think a live bet on this one would be something to pay attention to. Just it's such a narrow margin for these teams. Alabama to me, better overall defense. LSU on the opposite end, better overall offense. LSU controls the rushing average right now at a 213 yards per average rush per game over their last 3. Time of possession is equal for these two. Each of them are averaging about 30 minutes. So it's kind of like who's going to control the clock. Alabama, though, on the other end for their rushing average, 147 yards per game over their last few. So, LSU has the outright rushing advantage, equal time of possession on the clock on the road. That's going to be a really tough one for me not to want to lean with LSU here. My model's even got this as a LSU to be the favorite at an average of a -8 line. So it's saying that LSU should win by about a touchdown. And, based on that and kind of looking at the board, the other benefit, Alabama's got 80% of the money, for the tickets on them right now. Plus, the opener was -4. This is at -3 for Alabama right now. So the money is definitely moving against them. But also what I kind of love here is, because Alabama's got 80% of the money, I would go with LSU again, another factor. I mean, I'm looking for reasons not to bet LSU here, but everything's telling me go LSU, for all those reasons. And that's kind of where I lean right now. But the other thing that I look at, totals perspective isn't bad to go over either. I think these are also two teams because their defenses aren't so flush that they could run the score up a little bit, going through the game. So I like that over 61.5 as well.
Okay. All right. I look at it like this. Do you trust LSU's defense to generate stops? They're insanely banged up, especially in the back four, but can Milton take advantage of it? Alabama's defense is good, but it's not Alabama level. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like compared to what we've seen in the past with all this NIL stuff going on, it's not what we're used to seeing from Alabama.
Yep.
Alabama's offense ranks 9th in the SEC. 9th. Is that good enough to take advantage of LSU? Bama's O-line, not as good as what it's been. Line was at 6, down to 3. I really think I look at it like this. I think both these teams have some major holes defensively that we're not used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that LSU is going to score points. I think Alabama is going to be able to score points just because of how bad LSU is. I'm in a contest, and we had to pick something in this game. I just picked the over, just because size-wise, I kind of feel the line's pretty spot on. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I kind of feel line it is. I think both defenses are poor. I think Milton should be able to take advantage of this with how bad the back four is. But again, it's like this isn't the Alabama of a couple years ago. We need to start remembering that NIL has completely changed the landscape. I would bet the over. I did the over in my contest. I didn't bet the over in the contest play. I did the over. But look, maybe I think I'm going to be watching Bedlam at this point because I have invested in Oklahoma State. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
There you go.
All right. So now we're going to shift our attention over to the NFL. We're each going to be giving out 3 plays. David, you're going to kick us off. You're going down to H-Town, my friend.
Yeah. So starting off, I'm looking at wait, which one did you have me going on? Yeah, sorry.
Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay.
Yeah. So 3 bets. Sorry, I had to get them straight. So first of all, looking at Tampa Bay at Houston. And the play for me is actually Tampa Bay +3 or take the money line. Again, like I just mentioned, anytime I see something that's within a field goal, I like that edge. Numbers for me, I have, again, some statistics that I'm working with here. The Buccaneers, just overall across the board, middle of the pack, both rushing, passing defense, 13 on rushing defense, 15 on passing defense, right? So they're pretty middle of the pack. I think where they get to take advantage of this Houston team is through the air. Now, basically, looking at Evans, Godwin, everything like that, good rapport with Baker out there. Houston's passing defense is number 24 ranked. So I really like kind of how this lines up for them in terms of, taking advantage of that, error with Houston, in my opinion. Also, where they both can take advantage of, equally is actually probably going to be on the ground necessarily. Both have terrible rushing offenses right now. But the way that Tampa Bay uses the run as an extension of the pass is really to their benefit here as well. So, Rachaad White coming out of the backfield, I really like what he's been doing over recent games for them. From that end, the line on this is 3. I actually have this more as a pick 'em. So from my perspective, this actually, very much favors the dog on the road here. In comparison to what we were just speaking about with college, I don't look at home field advantage being such a much a factor in the NFL as it is in college. Again, can't trust the kids, can trust the pros. I definitely expect them to come out here and be throwing the ball a lot more over Houston. And yeah, so for all those factors, all those things combined, I definitely like Tampa Bay here +3, or you can possibly take the money line if you're getting a pretty good number above, +125 for yourselves here. So that's where I'm leaning for my first bet.
I like that play a lot. I kind of feel like the book is out on CJ.
Yes.
Ranking down, completion percentage down, yards per game down. He struggles with the blitz. I think Bowles is going to bring the blitz a little bit, make him a little bit uncomfortable. Dameon Pierce is out. Former Buffalo Bill great. Devin Singletary, it's going to be on him, the rushing. I really don't trust them. After him, who do they have? So they're a little thin at the running back position. And Mayfield's gotten better. He's not turning the ball over. I think it's a big Mike Evans game. I think he's going to be able to take advantage of the holes that Houston has defensively. My next one, I'm going to Nolo. Give me Alvin Kamara over 32.5 receiving yards. Bears give up 497 yards to opposing running backs, which is 62.15 yards per game. You look at their last 5 games. Eckler, 94 yards over his rushing prop. Josh Jacobs only had 6, didn't go over his rushing prop. Vikings, Madison, 28, went over his prop. Commanders, Gibson, 64, Robinson, 33, went over his prop. Javonte Williams only had 9 against the when they played the Broncos, but he got hurt. He was on his way.
He got hurt.
He had 9 yards, and his prop was 12.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was going to hit that. So, basically, the only running back not to go over is Josh Jacobs, who's not a big factor in the passing game for the Raiders. However, Zaire White, who is the passing game back, did go over. So, with how big of a factor Kamara is, I think he's going to fly over this. Eckler hit his over in the first freaking play of the game on Sunday night. This Bears team cannot defend the pass at all, especially against the running back. You look at Kamara, he's gone over this 4 or 5 games. This season, he's averaging 8.8 targets, 7.8 receptions, 45.5 yards. With the dead arm of Carr, meaning he doesn't throw it down the field, there's going to be a lot more checkdowns. I think Kamara is going to be heavily involved. Give me Kamara over the 32.5 receiving yards.
Got to take that. Got to take that.
Next, we're going out to Foxborough in one of the filthiest games of the game. The Commanders at the Patriots.
Oh, yeah. So this one is on me. And so I'm looking at this one from an angle again. All my numbers where they kind of sit, here offensively, for the Commanders at this point is they have the number 12 overall rushing offense when it comes to their team right now. Passing is, sitting at 26. So this is actually a very interesting game, the way these numbers play out DVOA rankings wise, right? Because what you're looking at here is two teams, each of them probably middle of the pack on rushing offense, but then both have pretty decent rushing defenses. You have, again, poor passing offenses to a degree, sitting 26 and 24 respectively. And then the passing defense, again, falls into the bottom tier for both these teams. So it's like, it's watching a mirror image of each other, in my opinion, in a lot of ways here. What does that all add up to me? That means that when I'm looking at this line from a dog perspective, the line has not moved much at all. And I'm getting, value on the dog here because my line is dead even with Vegas and the books here. And, the way that I kind of look at this just overall is the fact that I want to take the dog money where I can, because I think the rushing offense for Washington is going to stand up a little bit better and their defense is a little bit better rankings wise. I definitely think that the Washington team can come out running a lot better over New England on the road. I want to take the plus money here, plus 130 for themselves. I know it sounds like a wild card kind of play to take, but again, I look for the dog edges where I can, because I think, you're going to save yourself juice in the long run. And you're definitely going to find, the value on that side of the ball. So for all those reasons, again, Washington money line plus 130.
Yeah, filthy game. I'm not going to lie. Filthy fucking game. Oh, sorry. Filthy game.
Yeah.
Filthy game.
Yeah.
Filthy
Yeah.
Filthy game. Filthy game. Almost let the F-bomb almost let the F-bomb drop. Want nothing to do with it. Honestly, want nothing to do with it. But props to you for going after it, because that, I don't know, like, it's Mac Jones and it's Sam Howell.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all I have to say.
I know.
Next game, another barn burner. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers at home, getting 3 against the Indianapolis Colts. Who's Gardner Minshew to be laying points on the road? The guy has a negative ROI overall when he's just overall, and he's got a worse negative ROI when he's on the road. This guy, when he's a favorite, this guy just doesn't cover games, but for whatever reason, because he has a mustache and long hair, people like him. But another big thing is Grover Stewart, who was one of the best D linemen against the run, is out. He tested positive for a performance enhancement drug, and he's suspended for 4 more games. So I really feel that the Panthers are going to be able to get this Hubbard-Sanders 2-man punch running game going. You look, Ford, Kamara, even Taysom Hill, all those guys were able to run the ball the last 2 games. Yep. Colts defense has given up the last 3 weeks 38 points per game. That's against PJ Walker and the Saints team, which is absolutely lifeless. They just aren't that good defensively. And with the one thing when I watched the Panthers game that stood out to me when Frank Wright gave up play calling was there's a lot more pre-snap movement, meaning pre-snap motion. That way it makes it easier for the young quarterback to determine where everyone's going to be, where the zone is, where the man is, where's going to be the gap in the field to attack. he kind of dumbed it down for Bryce Young, and the offense looked better. It didn't look great, but it looked better to where it has been. Panthers D, I think it's good. I think it's getting better. It's heading in the right direction. It's getting healthy. Minshew, 42% overall. You look at it both ways. Right. And another thing that looked me out that I remember, Frank Wright's teams historically are better post-bye. I'm going to play that trend. I'm going to play the fact that they figured some stuff out and that this Colts team with no Stewart, Minshew at quarterback, Josh Downs is banged up. We don't know if he's going. I'm just going to take the Panthers here plus the 3. I'm not going to watch the game and just slowly be checking the score every 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So, and I don't blame you there either. It's kind of like you said, another barn burner here. It's definitely another one, from my model's perspective with numbers that I have more as a pick 'em as well. So, again, a home team with dog money, I really like that factor. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, that's something I would also follow and pay attention to. I mean, otherwise, I don't know why Colts are laying points on the road right now. I really don't.
Makes no sense. Next game. You're going overseas, my friend. 7 kickoff Denver time. We're going and Dolphins over 24 for the first half.
Exactly. So, yeah, wake up early, everybody, or make your bets early before you go to sleep that night. But, take advantage of the line now. Dolphins, Chiefs, we're looking at over 24 points for the first half here. Why are we looking at that? Because each of these teams has terrible rushing defenses. But they also have great passing offense rankings. I think that they're going to throw this ball all over the place. I think they're going to use the run as an extension of the pass against these rushing defenses as well. My projection for the first half total is 33 points. So we're looking at about a 9-point edge over the book right now. I definitely think that is the play. It is one of my better margins. Anytime, something that I've heard from a lot of my tutors in the game, if you will, coming up is wherever you see such like a best margin, if you will, for your weekend bets, lay your heavier money on that. And that is going to be this game for me. So, seeing the 9-point edge, seeing that, the defenses where they line up together, and, there's no home field advantage here. These teams are going to be on the road. I think they're going to be trying to put on a show. I know, Tyreek's already been, kind of chirping a little bit about that himself, saying like, how much he wants to put on. So I'm looking for the over here, 24 points for the first half. Conversely, for everybody listening, I don't have the actual, bet for the over for the full game. There isn't such an edge as great on the full game. So that line, I think, is sitting at about 50.5 right now, 50.5. I'm showing about a 55 total. But in comparison, they're looking to project over their total by 9 points in that first half compared to only maybe 5 points, 4.5 points in this, for the full game. So take advantage of the edge where you can get it. And that is where I'm putting that.
Interesting. I like that. Hopefully there's some points because it's nothing really better than pancakes and points to start my Sunday of NFL betting.
There you go.
My next one, and dude, I'm going grimy this week.
I don't know. I already did that with the Commanders, man. You can't get much grimier.
I mean, dude, I'm taking the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders minus 1.5. Now, did you hear the story, the alleged story, how Josh McDaniels got fired?
No, I don't think so.
For Halloween, he dressed up as Mark Davis.
Hear this. Oh, okay.
Davis was like, "Hey, why don't you come up? We'll eat together. We'll talk about the team. I'll order some PF Chang's."
Yep.
So Davis goes up. So McDaniels goes up there to meet Davis, and Davis is like, "Why don't you open up, see what your fortune cookie says?" Now, granted, this is what was going around X. I don't know, unconfirmed reports right now.
Sure.
that McDaniels opened up his fortune cookie and it said, "You're fired, hotshot." That'd be something. If that's true, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in terms of this game, what I've heard with people close to the Raiders inside that building, they just freaking hated Josh McDaniels. They hated everything. Davante Adams is spewing at the head. He came there to play with Derek Carr. That was the only reason why he came there. And then Joshy didn't see it with him. Joshy wanted him out of town.
Yep.
What? What?
Right.
I think this team is going to be very motivated the first time out. The Giants have issues defending the run. I think this is going to be a heavy Josh Jacobs game. I think Josh Jacobs is going to control that line. I think this is going to be a heavy Davante Adams game. I think the Giants are banged up on the offensive line, banged up on the defensive line, and they just got rid of Leonard Williams. I think the Giant and Daniel Jones is rushing to come back. If Daniel Jones can't play, that means they have DeVito as their quarterback who did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Graham Cano just went on the IR. They just signed a backup kicker from the practice squad. This team is just insanely banged up. They should have beat the Jets. I mean, I had the Giants plus 3, and they should have beat the Jets. That's how putrid the Jets have been here. But look, I taking the Raiders here just because I think this is going to be a game they're going to be highly motivated for. We saw it last year when the Colts were fed up with Frank Reich. Jeff Saturday just came down from the as a fan, just came down and coached them to a victory. I think Pierce is this guy who's taking over them, defensive coach, he's going to lean on this run game. They're going to take advantage of the issue the Giants have. And
they have to.
I think it's kind of a letdown spot too. Giants played that game in Buffalo, should have won. They should have won that game in Buffalo, should have won the game of the Jets, traded Leonard Williams. I think they're trying to just basically just begin ready for next year and reevaluate what they have and what they want to do. So I'm going to take the Raiders here -1.5. Now we're going to go to Sunday Night Football. We got your Buffalo Bills getting 2.5 at the Cincinnati Bengals, over under a 50. Bills Mafia, what say you, my friend?
Yeah, Bills Mafia. I'm rolling with my team. I'm looking at the +2 or the money line on this game. I'm pretty sure I took the money line already at +115. Where it was at to start the week, and all my numbers trend for Buffalo in this case. Eric knows, why he even has me here is the fact that I will totally bet against my teams. I am not a biased bettor when it comes to homer bets or anything. This just happens to be a spot that the numbers line up for Buffalo. So one thing I do want to put out is the interesting factor here. This line did start with a Buffalo as the favorite, as a -1. So the line is showing that it's moved against them. But guess how much money is on Cincinnati right now? 92%. You telling me that the books aren't going to come for that money? They are totally. That is too much public money for my liking to be on Cincinnati. For what in my opinion, again, now to listen to these numbers, right? So Buffalo across the board, rankings wise, rushing offense, number 10, passing offense, number 2, rushing defense, number 17, passing defense, number 13. They are a very, very controlled team on each side of the ball. And then also, Cincinnati, conversely here, right? Rushing offense, number 18, rushing defense, number 25. I love that exploitation with James Cook coming out of the backfield for Buffalo with that rushing offense against such a terrible rushing defense for Cincinnati. If Buffalo isn't running this, if Josh isn't handing the ball back to James Cook here to run, I'm going to lose my mind. Then also conversely here, the passing game, pretty similar with passing defense, but Buffalo again has the better passing offense. Some of those numbers may be a little skewed just of the slow start that Burrow got, but either way, in my opinion, I think the ground attack is where Buffalo is going to find and need to dig in with the Cincinnati team in order to win. They have a huge edge here, in my opinion. I have Buffalo as a projection, a little bit better than a field goal, about a -4 overall line to win this game by outright. That is why I have the confidence of saying any of these teams that should cover will win. And I'm going to take the money line with Buffalo.
So I look at it like this. There's this trend you mentioned line movement.
Yep.
Teams that open up as the dog and close at the favorite have a negative ROI against the spread. That's what Cincinnati is. Cincinnati here opened as the dog, closed as the favorite. Betting's all about buying low, selling high. Cincinnati just went there and dismantled the 49ers in the game. You know what? The 49ers, Trent Williams banged up. Debo, running game didn't look great. 49ers had some holes and the Bengals were able to take advantage of it. But the biggest news that came out of that game for me is Trey Hendricks wasn't there. You mentioned the run game. I really think that James Cook, Latavius Murray, I think they're going to be able to run the ball against this Bengals front. I think the Bills have had this game circled. The big thing last year that stood out to me in the playoff game is there was no blitz. For whatever reason, Leslie Frazier, who's a very accomplished coach in the league, refused to blitz when the Bengals were without 3 starting offensive linemen. That made zero sense to me. Now this year with Sean McDermott calling the plays, they're being a little bit more aggressive, looking to bring a little bit more pressure. I think they're going to do that to get to Burrow because you have to do that because Burrow holds onto the ball so long. He holds on the ball longer than anyone in the league. You have to get him off rhythm. I totally agree with you here. I like the Bills. I'm going to be selfish, though. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hope we can get that 3.
Yep.
I want that 3. But if we don't, I'll just play the money line. Interesting game here. Monday Night Football to close week 9. We have the Chargers laying 3.5, going to New York to play the Jets. What say you, my friend?
This one's a very interesting game for me. I did make a bet in this game already. I made a bet on the first half. So, looking at this game, I've got Chargers minus the half for the first half. So, I have the Chargers winning the first half by about 5 points. That is a really good margin, in my opinion, to take that point or half a point, in my opinion, to go that direction. Chargers are really coming on here these days. I think, getting Eckler back is really going to help, in a lot of ways too, with everybody else there in the fold. So where I'm looking at from a numbers perspective and why I'm actually looking at this, like I said, I already gave you my best edge in terms of these games. The interesting thing is that for the full game, that my numbers are actually saying Jets for the 3.5 as a dog at home. So that is the interesting part for the full game, in my opinion, in terms of where these two teams shake out. So I'm saying like Chargers first half, Jets full game. That's just how they shake out in terms of everything, because my numbers offensively, Chargers and Jets respectively 22-24 with the rush. Rushing defense 20 and 18. I mean, you're talking very comparable rushing numbers here based on those, defenses and offensive from a rushing perspective. Now, where it separates, passing side of the ball again, you're talking Chargers, number 6 passing offense against the Jets, number 6 passing defense. But then conversely, again, the Jets passing offense 27, the Chargers passing defense 26. It is just such a flip-flop there, in my opinion, where I think the Chargers have the edge through the air in this game to take advantage. And, that is why I think the better edge in terms of the overall game output is going to be the first half, with the Chargers coming out on top with that minus half. So that is actually where I have put my money down for this game. I am very interested to see how the full game plays out, just based on what I just kind of went over with the edge showing for the dog being the Jets at home. So that is kind of how I'm looking at it all right now. I am curious about one more note that I didn't actually get to throw in here, but Yeah, another reason why I like the Chargers that I didn't, go into this was the fact that the Jets have 80% of the money on them at home as a dog right now as well. Anytime I'm seeing a number that's 80, something above for public money, I'm betting away from the public. And I think that's where the Chargers have the edge.
I like it. I like it. So we talk about winning with margin, right? How do you
Yep.
trust the Chargers laying over a field goal? I mean, literally, like I love Herbert. I love this whole team, but in my eyes, you really can't trust any of them.
No.
So I'm just going to kind of sit back. The player prop I want to attack. The Chargers are a little banged up in the old back four. No, sorry, they give up production to the tight end. I wanted to look at Donald Parham. I wanted to kind of get some of his props, but I'm looking at it right now. I see no book that has any Parham numbers. So kind of hard for me to do anything because that's how I want to attack the game. I want to go after him just because Palmer's banged up. Obviously, no Mike Williams. They still don't trust Quentin
Yep.
Johnson. So I would look at Donald Parham. God, dude, that's what my Monday night betting is.
Digging deep.
Donald Parham, his receiving yards. And then we get to start off next week with that barn burner of the game between the Carolina Panthers and the Buffalo Bills. I'd like to thank David for coming on the winning ticket, sharing his insights. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Reminder, if you're in the state of Iowa, go to the DRF Sportsbook, use promo code FAST350 for a 350 deposit match. Terms and conditions may apply. Important to know, you have to be in the state of Iowa to use that. Make sure to give DRF a follow. Loaded weekend of horse racing. Give the DRF Sportsbook a follow and give my boy David, aka Better DP21, a follow. We'll be back next week. Let's make some money. Let's cash some tickets. Thanks for filling in, David.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me.